all I can say.
All right, says we're live now.
You rocking and rolling
So,
there? Let's
yep,
see.
looks like rock and rolling.
Cool. Well, here we are. First and foremost, welcome to Boating Tips Live, and Keith, thanks for allowing me back on your show.
I was gonna say first and foremost, welcome back.
I was
That was
having
crazy last week. Little technical difficulties.
I was having a bad time, man. It was like I don't even know what to describe it as. Just like watching on the sidelines, just asking questions, and I was frustrated. But you did a great job, and it was a great episode. I actually learned a lot from the whole from Danelle on the Reeling Freedom episode.
Yeah, man, and what a great charity type thing, or for the veterans.
Yeah,
Or 501c3.
it was great. I enjoyed watching from the sidelines, so that was really fun to watch.
It's a cool thing they do.
We got a guest.
Yes, we do. We got Captain Brock from Pompano. What's up, bud?
Welcome
How
aboard,
are you?
Brock.
Thanks for having me today.
So what we're going to be talking about with Brock, a lot of things interesting about different MarineMax stores is, a lot of people will do different things. And, Keith is primarily focused on, his deliveries. I mean, he's running multiple deliveries every single day. Then you have Brock over on the other coast at the Pompano store, and he's also the Getaways guy. So what we're going to be talking about today is, primarily using your boat to go on getaways and discovering new locations. And I think one of the most beautiful things about boating in general is, you talk about that new boater, never been on the water before. And, captains in your captain's orientation, you're going to teach them how to do everything right. And at first you might go out for an hour cruise. You might go out for a couple hours. Next thing you know, you heard of a restaurant an hour away. You're doing that. And then, I think the most special thing is these new boaters that after a year of owning their boat or leading their own excursions comfortably, up and down the coast. So we'll get to that in a minute. But Brock, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to be here right now at MarineMax?
All right. So my name is Brock. I've been with MarineMax now for 2 years. Before that, I was running charter boats up and down the coast from Florida in the winters and then somewhere in New England in the summer. Spent a lot of my time on Nantucket. Did that for about 4 years, and I got tired of picking up my life every 6 months and moving to a new state or to a new country or to a new county. So I found this job online, came in for an interview, and a few months later I had the job, and I've been here ever since, loving it. Love working with the customers, delivering new boats to them, orientating them with their new boats, and then getting them up to the point where they're following me over to, down to Key West, over to the Bahamas, and then eventually doing those trips on their own without me.
Awesome. So tell us about you planning getaways. So what's going to go into that, and one, I mean, the coolest thing about getaways is, it is scary. It is at first, going someplace new, and there's really no better way to do that than, teaming up with a bunch of other boaters, especially when somebody like Brock is planning that whole trip. So what's a getaway look like, and what is it?
So a getaway is a trip with just the MarineMax boaters. If you buy a new or used boat from us, then we invite you onto these trips that I plan out. And it's not just me. I have a team behind me that helps me out with these as well. But we find some cool destination, one that isn't super popular but is a lot of fun. And some we do are super popular destinations like Key West or Bimini or Nassau. And I call these marinas months in advance to find a weekend or a week or a 4-day stretch where we're able to get 10, 15, 20 slips at these marinas. For example, I have one next month here. We're calling it a staycation. We got 12 slips at the Bahia Mar Marina, and that's right where the Fort Lauderdale boat show is. We're going to be having a 3-day getaway just down there. So what goes into that is I call the marina and say, hey, I'm looking to plan a rendezvous, and between 10 and 12 boats, sometimes up to 15, and they give me a weekend or a week stretch to where I'm able to get that many boats there. So after that, I'll put together some sort of sheet to send out to our customers to sign up, and then we'll start planning events day by day for that specific getaway. This one we always do a Docktails party the first night that we're there, which is a great little way to meet your fellow boaters and meet up with the sales team that comes with us. We always bring one person on the sales team, and then myself and one other person. And the Docktails party is a great way to meet all of these people and interact. And after that, so this one we're going to. There's a reef system just off of Fort Lauderdale where there's tons of mooring balls out there. They're all in between 12 and 30 feet deep. So on Saturday, we'll be going out to those mooring balls and having a little snorkel adventure or scuba diving or whatever you're into.
Oh, cool. I wish we had water clarity up here like you guys have down there.
Yeah, we're blessed over here. The high tide is absolutely gorgeous, even on the intercoastal throughout here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the cool thing about Getaways, though. So, like, you said, your new boaters. So, like, we've got, the leading lady over here is what we, always name our, lead boat. So those of you that say you just bought a boat and you want to go on this, Brock or myself or Nick or a sales guy, whoever's leading the trip, will actually lead the way, and then you can just kind of follow along. So then on your chart plotters, your GPS and all that stuff, you can lay down, your tracks and save it as a route and do that kind of stuff. So then, you've got a way back, so you can follow yourself back, and you do it a couple of times. Like you're a little kid when you first, got a bicycle, you go down to the end of the driveway and turn around. Then next thing you know, you're going down to the end of the street. Well, then, you're off on your own, it's like, look out, here I come. And that's kind of what these getaways, afford us to do to, help each person out that goes on these trips.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I also send out a captain's brief about a month in advance for these trips, and it has detailed waypoints of where we're going to be meeting, the inlets that we're going to be using, and the destinations as well. So they're able to enter those GPS coordinates into their whatever chart plotter they might have on their boats.
Right.
That helps them out.
So it's preparation that goes into these events sometimes months in advance. And whether we're talking about these events or not, let's really quick talk about things that you do not want to do at the last minute. And I know that we've all been there. And the thing is, at the last minute, no matter how great you plan or no matter how far in advance you plan, there's going to be things that you're going to need to handle in the last day or the last couple hours before your trip. So you're going to eliminate as much as you can months in advance. A couple of things that I have here is where you're going to dock. Obviously, that's a big one because in most cases, you're not just going to be able to pull up to a marina or anyone that you're going to want to be at and just say, all right, I'm here, tie it up, and so that's obviously one thing. And another thing is fuel. You got to be able to get there. So there's so much planning that you can do because you got to make time to be able to handle any of those little situations that come at you unexpected.
Yeah, absolutely. If there's something that I can add to not do at the very last minute is keeping up with your maintenance, checking your strainers, not just the day before, but the weeks in advance. And if you keep your boat in the water, make sure you're cleaning that bottom every time it needs it. Some down here in South Florida, in the middle of summer, you're going to have to do it every 12 to 14 days. But throughout the winter, you can probably get away with 3 weeks to a month. So that's something that I've seen on the trips that we go out on is if you don't have shiny props and a clean bottom, you're not going to be able to keep up with us.
Yeah, you'll
great
be falling
point.
behind.
Yep, we see that a lot. Also, too, if you're like, when we're going to say we're going to go down to the Keys, but we're going to stop at Marco or South Seas or something, I recommend that as soon as you get into that first stop, go ahead and refuel. Don't wait around to the next morning because if you're going with the group, then if something's going on and you don't get over to the fuel dock in time, then everybody else is kind of lagging around. So I know it's a little bit of a nuisance if you got a dozen boats and everybody's kind of waiting to get in line to a fuel dock. But then also sometimes we're going to, arrange to have a fuel truck actually go to the marina so everybody can get their boats in the slips, and then a fuel truck will come in and just go right down the line. So like you said, there's a lot of planning and different events and itineraries are laid out different. So like we've got our Getaways coordinator here that kind of does what you're doing and you're leading the trip.
Right.
But it's definitely a coordinated dance.
Absolutely. Herding cats is how I like to describe it.
Before we move on here, we got a lot of great topics to cover today. We've got some great YouTube questions. So everybody joining in on YouTube, I appreciate the questions. Also on Facebook, guys, drop whatever questions you have down below. Doesn't need to be about Getaways. You have 3 captains here. There are literally too many cooks in the kitchen right now. So go ahead and ask any questions that you want. So Lydia, hello. Thank you for joining. Sophie, hi. Thank you. Lisa, thanks for joining in again. Looks like we have Pete here. I would like to get on one of your distribution lists for your trips. So you can sign up for our newsletter right there at MarineMax.com or call into your store. And then depending on where you're at, so you see Pete's over there in Destin. So I know that they're going to have a Getaways coordinator up there and delivery captains up there. If you're over on the other coast in the Pompano area, Brock's going to be your guy. And of course, if you're on the west coast of Florida, then you could get in touch with Keith and I, and we'll let you know the next event, and maybe you can tag along.
Yeah,
but got some good questions here. So
let's roll back up to like John A. He goes,
I can't believe I skipped that.
There are route finding apps for cars. Are there apps for finding if there's navigable inland waters from point A to point B, maybe craft dependent?
Oh, yeah.
So I know which one I like to use. Go ahead, Brock.
So that's actually a great question, and it is going to be vessel dependent. And I use what's called Navionics. It's basically the same exact thing you're going to get on your Raymarine or Garmin screen, whichever, or Simrad, whatever you have. And you can enter in the specifics for your boat, the length, the width, the draft. And if you
burn.
Yep, yeah, even fuel burn.
Burn, speed.
Yep, fuel burn and speed. And if you have the upgraded package, which I think everybody should have, it's pretty cheap.
It's the best money you'll ever spend in your life. What is it? Is it $14.99 a year?
I think it's either 14 or $20 a year. It's whatever it is, it's worth it.
If it was 10 times that, I'd buy it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So when you do have that, you can enter a waypoint wherever you want to finish, and it takes from where you start. It draws a line for you specific for your boat to navigate to that specific destination safely.
You can tweak it and fine tune it too. I learned a neat trick from Keith one time about how you set it up. Keith, what do you do to make it white if it's over or under 6 feet of water or something like that? You kind of fine tune
on the Navionics app. It's like safety depth or safety shading on the thing. You slide the little scale over to do it, and then just like the way I set up any of the MFDs, the Raymarine MFDs or Simrads and all that with the Navionics platform, is I'll set the safety depth to 6 foot. So basically on your chart, anything that's white is going to be 6 foot or deeper. The light blue is going to be 6 to 3, and the dark blue is 3 foot or less. So all of our boats now, maybe if you got an S7 or something, or a big Ocean Alexander that's got a little more draft or something like that, you can tweak it. You can make it, let's say 12 foot, everything's in the white, or deeper. But for general rule, most all of our boats, I'll set it up at the 6 foot. So you keep it in the white and you don't have anything to worry about.
One thing that I've done that helped me out a lot on Navionics is you can actually go in and you can arrange your chart settings. And by that, I mean, I don't know what you guys do. I always have the sonar chart selected. It's a little more detailed. It has a little bit more contour lines and stuff. And I found that helpful than a standard. I believe it's the government chart that they use, right? When you plug the app in.
Yeah, it's the NOAA, the Navionics from NOAA is typically where it comes from.
I've navigated literally from first time I did it from Key West to St. Pete all on the app.
Yeah, and it's a great backup if your electronics fail on the boat. If you have any sort of signal, you're going to be just fine using your phone or iPad as a backup for that.
And then through Wi-Fi, you can actually transfer the routes that you build on your phone to your chart plotters.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. I've done the whole Bahamas routes through there, sitting right there on my iPad or on my phone, come here to the store, go to the display we have downstairs, convert it over to it. Then you put it on a chart card. then you've got it on the card, and then you can share it with other people's, you put it in their units and transfer everything over. You can also do it right on your chart plotters if your card is updated and your Raymarine and or your Simrad is all up to the latest updates too. So it's a little more complicated because Garmin owns Navionics.
Yeah.
So Raymarine and Simrad use the Navionics card, so they're both kind of always updating and messing things, with each other, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But if you get it on your phone, then you can just put it right in there from that.
Another neat thing about it too is this is a question that I get a lot. So I've got all of my fishing spots backed up in Navionics. Shouldn't say that, now somebody's going to try to steal my phone. But it also
your
works.
thumbprint or your
So it does, and I learned this when I crossed Florida Bay the other week. It will actually track you when you don't have cell phone service, but you won't be able to, build routes or anything like that, or use any internet features. But I did find out, because I wanted to test it the other day, it will tell you where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
Even when
I
you don't have
tested
service.
that. I tested that theory on an airplane a few weeks ago.
Oh, no kidding.
You're in airplane mode. It'll still show you kind of a GPS location and your speed on it.
Yeah.
Pretty wild.
I mean, it's
Cool.
For safety or whatever. Another reason I like it, when you're doing these big trips on the intercoastal, I mean, trying to find out different bridge information. I mean, you can go on there and it'll tell you what kind of bridge, height, stuff like that. If it's a drawbridge or whatever, and the name of the bridge too, so you know how to call it. So that's one thing that I really like about the app for going someplace you haven't been before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's got weather on there too.
Yeah, weather and tides.
Weather. It's got tides. It's got all kinds of stuff.
I got a question for you here, Brock. I had a customer of mine going through the locks 2 or 3 weeks ago, and they had told me that the locks were closed due to vegetation, and they actually had to go around the whole way. Have you guys heard about that?
I have not heard about that. We're pretty far south, so we don't get a whole lot of customers going up and down the St. Lucie River. I've crossed it 15, 20 times, and I've never had that issue. If there is vegetation, I'm wondering if it's like the algae bloom or something like that coming in.
The poor guy got all the way to the first lock there from Fort Myers in, and then they said it'll be closed for a couple weeks, or at least a week. So he had to come all the way back out, down around, and he was going to Miami. And I mean, it was pretty bizarre.
Is there a Facebook page or any sort of community where you can go and find that sort of information before you run into that issue?
That's a good question. I don't know. Keith, have you heard anything about
that? I've got phone numbers to St. Lucie and Port Mayaca locks, but I would call ahead of time. Probably the Army Corps of Engineers or whoever operates those. I'm sure you can find it.
Okay.
Local notice to mariners too, I would imagine, if they're shutting the locks down. You probably get it through there.
Yeah. Yeah, we might be a little too far south.
What's that, Nick?
Have you been through the locks, Keith?
Yeah. Yep. And now they make you wear your life jacket. Put your life jacket on when you're going through there too.
Yep.
You get out of the boat, you're standing up on the bow to grabbing lines. You got to actually put on a PFD.
Yeah.
Turn your radars off too.
They get mad at that.
Yeah. Even though it's all huggable now, it's got new safe radar and stuff, but turn those off.
What do you call for the locks on? Is it channel 12 or 13? I just went over this the other day.
Channel 13.
Yep.
I think it's 13.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So bridge tenders 9, locks 13.
Cool. Well, you guys ready to see some more questions?
Yeah.
Got a lot of good YouTube questions here.
Nice.
Let's see. Got
Bob Getz. Good.
As a future SLX 400 owner, what level of education would be helpful? Where would one get that education? What do you think, guys?
I think someone answered it right below you. The Coast Guard's Power Squadron class is absolutely a perfect class to take for a boat like that.
Oh, really? I've never been at that class.
So it's through the Coast Guard Auxiliary. They do them 3 or 4 times a year down here, and it's just a class where it's kind of like my Women on Water class, where I teach the very basics of boating terminology all the way up to driving a boat, and they kind of invite everybody to do that. And it's a very in-depth class. It's 8 hours long. It's worth going to.
Absolutely. And then too, depending on where you are, like if you're local here, I'm going to get my hands on you if you're buying a 400 SLX out of here. So, we can spend a day, we can spend a couple days, you're going to make sure you can, dock the boat, anchor the boat, know how the generator works, shore power, go through all the systems, and all that. Then something comes up down the road, you need some more help, give us a call. We'll be there for you.
Good stuff. Looks like we got a question that I think that is going to be best for you here, Brock, from Sophie. Our boat is registered in Canada. We keep her in Florida. If we go to the Bahamas for Christmas, is the customs border will accept Canadian with its crew to stay in the USA and obtain a cruising permit? I'll let you hit that question. Then I'd love to have you hit on the Bahamas in general here after that.
Let's see if I can find that question there. So if you're Canadian flagged and you're going over to the Bahamas, they're going to let you in, no problem. You're going to pay their cruising permits. If you're under 35 feet, then it's only $150 for the cruising permits for 6 months. And if you're over 35 feet, it's $300 for 6 months or 2 visits. So you can. So what that is, if you go January 1st, you're going to pay that $150. And if you come back January 5th, you can go back again within 3 months. Without having to pay that $150 again. So you get it for either 6 months or two times within 6 months. And then coming back from Canada back to Florida, I'd have to look into that a little bit deeper. I've yet to bring a foreign flag ship back, but I don't think it's a big deal. You just have to get your cruising permits again.
Speaking of Bahamas in general, what's the general pulse of going on over there, just as far as traveling from your location, Brock?
So from here straight to Bimini, you can get over there. Even with the current stuff going on, you can still get in. You can still cruise their waters. There's just not a lot open right now. It's very, very similar to where we were a few months ago, where they're still in pandemic mode. So they're keeping stuff closed and protecting their citizens. But you can still go over and dive their waters and fish their waters. They have no problem with that.
Are they requiring anything like like negative test results or anything like that?
They were doing that. I haven't heard anything. I had a buddy cross over last week. He didn't have to get any of the PCR tests or anything. He was just able to go right in with no issues.
Cool. It's one thing that I always wished. I wish we had something more like that over here on the West Coast. Is, I mean, you guys are literally a skip and a hop jump away from a different world.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, us going to a different world is going to Homosassa to go scalloping.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. We can get to the Bahamas faster than we can get to Key West.
That's
you can
awesome.
get to the Bahamas as quick as I can get to Clearwater Beach from here, even though it's 5 miles as a crow flies. But it's 55 miles around. Got to go down the bay and out and back up and right on over.
Wow, that's a long route. Yeah, from inlet to inlet, I think we're 44 miles from here to Bimini.
That's awesome. Looks like we got another question here from Gary Wood. We have a trip planned for April 2021. We have a BVI trip booked with MarineMax. It was planned for April 2020 due to COVID. It had to be rescheduled. Any thoughts on how they are doing now in the BVIs? You hit on this a little bit last week, Keith, with Danelle. What was her thoughts on the reopening for MarineMax Vacations?
If I remember right, she was saying it's close. We're not quite there yet, but I think it's opening up here in the next few months, if I recall right.
I thought I saw it in December. I know there's a page on MarineMax.com, and they have kind of a press release going on there of just the reopening. And I saw a couple videos and stuff that Raul over in Vacation shared too, and they are opening up, at least in the BVIs. So it's a great opportunity to get out there and see all the BVIs have to offer. I haven't been yet, and also spend quite a bit of time on an Aquila power catamaran. So they do a good job over there.
Yes, they do. And if you're even thinking about buying an Aquila, go spend a week on one over there. Mm-hmm. Take your time, take your family, take your friends, and go get on a 44 or a 48 and see how spacious it is and how well it handles and all that. So it's a great trial run.
Hey Keith, are you watching on your phone?
I haven't been. I mean, it's on.
You know what I think is
Oh.
something funny? I'm on MarineMax St. Pete's page, and I'm not seeing any of these Facebook questions, but I see, and I'm like, man, where's all the questions today? And I think that there's actually a good amount of Facebook questions, but I'm not watching on a national page.
So Danielle just came on. Yep, they say they're opening up December 1st.
I thought it was December 1st. There's a video too,
Yeah.
kind of explaining
So
everything
that's
out there. So there you go,
So-
Gary. What are you which model are you chartering over there? I saw they've got a couple 54s coming into their fleet. That'll be cool.
Yep.
So I see a question here from Ed K about my upcoming trips, thinking it's for larger boats. That's absolutely untrue. We have boats that follow us over to the Bahamas. I have a lady that follows me over to Bimini every year on a 17 Montauk by herself, and she loves it. These trips are for everybody and anybody. If you buy a boat from us, you're more than welcome to come over. For our Bahia Mar trip next month, there is a hotel within walking distance that you can sleep at overnight. And if you want to send me an email, I'll get all those details over to you. It's brock.trimble@marinemax.com.
Nice.
We do a lot of small stuff over here too. I mean, I can't tell you how many 17 Montauks I see on every single one of our getaways. Now, there's a couple different types of getaways. I mean, there's different owners rendezvous and stuff like that. But your general getaways, your sandbar days or whatever. I mean, man, you've got about just as much versatility as anybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can get to a lot of places that the bigger boats can't get to. And you can also get to where they are, which is it's a great trade-off going into sandbars that the big boats can't get into. They're pretty jealous of that.
Yeah. Got Chris Petblack is my brother watching from an airplane. Hey Chris, up in the sky.
Nice.
Got Boat Boy of Louisiana watching again. Repeat viewer, always has some good questions. Guy Wesson, do you have a list of the getaways coming up? Guy's actually got an Aquila 44 on order, so his boat gets here soon. So let me I'll get you that list there, Guy.
Let's see. Mike Ludowski over there on your coast, Brock.
Mm-hmm.
Took 248 Commander out of Jupiter at low tide last week. I don't recommend it to do it more than once.
Yeah. So the middle of Jupiter Inlet right now is completely shoaled over. You can walk across it.
Wow.
Definitely. So there's two inlets on the west coast or the east coast of Florida, sorry, that are considered non-navigable inlets. One of them is Jupiter, and the other is Boynton. They don't even put channel markers out there because they'll just the channel moves so much that it's do not go through Jupiter if you do not know the exact route to go, because it is very shallow and it shifts every day.
What do you do in situations like that when we talk about navionics and stuff like that on your phone? We've got a couple passes here that are considered local knowledge only. What are your little tips and tricks, both Keith and Brock, I guess, for going someplace you've never been before, in an inlet where you've never been before? What do you trust? What do you not trust? Who do you call and stuff like that? What do you guys usually do in that situation?
So something that I do before going to any location that I haven't been to before, if I know that I'm going to a marina, I'll spend a couple of conversations with the dock master of that marina. That guy should know the way to get there, the route to get there, and everything in between on his side or her side. For instance, I went to Duck Key 4 weeks ago. We were down at Duck Key at Hawks Cay, and I talked with Ed Kinkler, the dock master there, and he had mentioned that some of the channel markers were off station. So it's really good to talk with the dock master of the location you're going to, or any kind of charter boat captains around there. They'll be typically more than happy to help you out.
Yep. I'm a member of CETO too, and then same type thing, So you call the CETO at that local location there, and they'll be more than happy to help you out. Like, even though that's a red marker, you're still going to pass it on the wrong side or whatever. They're going to tell you, ways to get in and out of there, because they're out there every day. They see what's going on.
Yeah, I
Yep.
actually learned that not too long ago about the CETO thing, and it's funny, those guys, they're great. You call them up. I mean, they're on the water every day. They know where all the sandbars are because they're generally the ones pulling people off of them. So if there's one around, they've probably found it one way or another. What do you guys think? You guys want to hit on some more questions, or you want to go into a little story time action there first?
Yeah. So let's roll through this. Rick Rohn, he's just got a statement, which is, it's cool. It is appropriate, Rick. Please mention that the Aquila owners have an Aquila Facebook page, which will answer a lot of the questions right
It's
there.
great
So they've
too.
got a whole group, like Boston Whalers got their own group, Aquila's got their own group, Sea Ray owners got their own group.
Yep. Galleon has their own. I haven't seen.
Yeah, yeah.
Galleon's got a big one, like 5,000 members in it. It's pretty good.
If I'm correct, Rick's actually the guy that runs that page, and he's a wealth of Aquila knowledge. I've spent some time with him down in South Seas, and he's good people.
Yep.
And he also, while we're answering Rick's questions here, Rick has a question for you, Keith. I believe you might have hit on it earlier, but a lot of people kind of tuning it out. Where is he? Rick says, "Do you ever use auto routing on your Raymarine?"
Yes. Yeah. So as long as, like I said, you got to have everything updated. So your Raymarine's got to have the latest software version. Your Navionics card's got to have the latest updated stuff. And then, it'll lay out an auto route. You got to take it with a grain of salt. It may not take you right through the main span of the bridge or something like that. So, I mean, it's a great tool if you're not sure where you're going to go, and then look it over real good and just kind of tweak it yourself. You can move things over. But the auto routing feature is great, whether it's, Simrad, Raymarine, Garmin. I mean, as long as you got the G2 card in it, I mean, it just does it real quick. But like I said, it may take you out of the way.
Cool. Before we move on to these other questions here, looks like we're set to talk about some story time of your favorite getaways trip that you've ever been on. So that might be a little easier for me to choose than you guys, because you guys have been on. I mean, you said, Brock, you said you guys are try to do one getaway a month.
Yeah, we're either doing one class or one getaway every month.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you're planning all those, huh?
Yep. Well, yeah, I do quite a bit of them. If there's more than 10 or 15 boats, we'll bring in someone else to help out. But yes, for the most part, I'm doing quite a bit of it.
So what is your most memorable getaway that you've through your 2.5 years here at MarineMax? What's the one that sticks out when you think, man, it was just awesome?
So I'm gonna have to say last year's Lobster Bash. If you guys haven't been, definitely one to go to. Lobster Bash took us. We started planning for this trip in January of 2019, and we executed it on lobster season, the start of lobster season over in Bimini on August 8th. So 8 months of planning this trip.
Wow.
And it was me, Cheryl Davidson, and Tiffany Karsuski, among others, that helped plan out this trip. And this trip we had, I want to say 78 boats follow us over. So it was a Thursday morning that we had left, and the previous trips that I've been on, we've always had a little bit of waves, a little bit of bumps up here and there. But this particular morning, it was absolutely greasy flat out there, and it was flat from Hillsborough Inlet to the light in Bimini, and I could see my reflection the entire way. We were cruising at 24, 25 knots all the way over, and having a line of boats 2 miles long. We had the radar on, and I was looking back, and you just see dots for 2 miles all the way back. It's pretty
Awesome.
wild, absolutely wild. And then that's a 4-day excursion over to Bimini, and that was definitely the most fun trip that I've had so far. The ride over was absolutely beautiful. We had a big welcome party where everybody dressed up in 80s costumes. So we had an 80s party the first night. And then after that, we had a nice little dinner. Friday, we had 55 boats out at the wreck at the Sapona, which is 4 miles south of Bimini. If you guys haven't been there, definitely want to check it out. It's in about 15 to 20 feet of water. And there's an old concrete ship out there that was built in 1904, 1905 and sunk in the 20s. And throughout World War II, they used it as a bombing test facility. So the airplanes would come in and drop bombs on it. So it's all destroyed, but you can still see it. It is a ship, and there's tons of marine life, and great boating day out there. Spent 2 or 3 hours there, and then went another 5 miles south to Honeymoon Harbor, where there's little reef sharks and stingrays just everywhere. So you get out and feed the reef sharks and the stingrays. Then coming back from that, absolutely the whole weekend was absolutely breathless. Not a breath of wind, not a wave anywhere, and not a drop of rain. So it actually worked out really well. Leaving harbor, coming back, we dressed up all the yachts that we had over there real pretty, and had a little mini boat show for Boston Whaler and Galleon. Little mini boat show for everybody was there. We dressed them up real nice and had the tours of the. I think we brought over 5 boats. We had Galleon 640 Fly or 650 Sky. Sorry, we had a Sea Ray 650. And then we had the Boston Whaler 380 Realm, which was like their brand new model at the time, which was absolutely beautiful. And then a couple other outrages that were there. Yeah, set all those up, had a great little miniature boat show. And after that, the following day was just kind of a hang by the pool. We did a little golf cart decorating competition. And then we had our lobster dinner, which the whole thing's named after. We had 700 Florida lobsters or spiny lobsters cooked up for us, as well as some hot dogs and hamburgers for those non-seafood eaters. And then that was an excellent dinner. And then we went down to the beach for our fireworks show. We had a 30-minute firework display put on by Anthony Armeo and Joe Garcia out there lighting them individually for about 30 minutes. It was pretty wild. Yeah, that hands down, that's the best trip I've done so far, the most memorable trip that I've done so far.
Whenever you talk about getaways, and we talked about this a few episodes ago, the number one that everybody brings up is always Lobster Bash.
Yep. And it's memorable, and if you've been on one, you know why people bring it up.
Have you been, Keith?
Have not been to Lobster Bash. Could do Fantasy Fest though. That's kind of like the big one over here on the West Coast. So
yeah.
That was just a fluke though. You know, we do it a little different over here. Our sales guys will run the trips, and this is quite a few years ago. Stephanie was actually our Getaways coordinator here at the time. And a certain salesman, he's still here. He's nicknamed Captain Sandy now. But he didn't even make it out of Boca Ciega Bay, and he ran a boat aground, a 58 sedan bridge.
Oh.
Tide was going out. So I was here at the store. I get a phone call. Say, hey, head home, pack up your bags, and go jump on this customer's boat. You're going to Key West. I'm like, what? So I went down to met some customers at MYSC where Nick works.
Mm-hmm.
Hopped on there, 45 dancer. They'd only owned the boat for a week. And hopped on their boat, caught up with everybody, waved to Captain Sandy as we were driving by. He's sitting there. There's herons walking around the boat and stuff. So then made it down to Marco, spent the night there, did docktails, all that, and then on down to Fantasy Fest, and then flew home a day later because by then the sales guy had caught up. But for the most part, I'm here at the store. I do the scalloping trip. I love that. They can get me out of here for a weekend at a time. But as you guys know, being the Top Gun store, number one in the country here at Clearwater, we got a lot of deliveries, so we got a lot of boats to get out of here. So I'd like to thank our customers though for trusting in us, and Clearwater's the number one store this year in the country. So
good work, guys.
Thank you.
Good work. Well, I'd have to say my favorite getaway story is going to be the Aquila Owners Rendezvous down at Captiva down at South Seas Resort. I know that we've got a couple people watching right now. Rick, I remember Rick being there, and that's an awesome trip. So I'll tell you how mine kind of started. You know, I actually ran a customer's boat down. And the neat thing about those big boats, you know, when you get to 40 foot and up, you know, you do end up building relationships where they are like friends and they're like family to you even. And we showed up at MYSC in St. Petersburg at the MarineMax Yacht Center, and it was raining. And when I mean it was raining, you could barely see the bow of a boat. And we pressed on anyways, and just kind of as we made it towards the point on the Intracoastal there where you can take a right out of Paso Grill to go on the outside, or a left towards Tampa Bay to go to the inside. The rain stopped, but the wind started, and it was howling. So we make it out of Paso Grill, and Captain Chris from MarineMax in St. Pete he's on the leading lady, and he says it's gonna let up as soon as we make it out of Paso Grill, and it's honking. He makes his left turn, and I get on the radio, and I'm like, Chris, we're taking the inside. And it was just as he turned around, he's like, I'm following you. So, and a neat thing about Florida, and I don't know how it is there on the East Coast, but on the West Coast, we've got an awesome intracoastal system pretty much the whole way down to Marco Island. And you talk about a whole different, a whole way to see a whole coast of Florida in a whole different way. I mean, the intercoastal system, I mean, it's awesome. You pass MarineMax's the whole way, a bunch of different landscapes and stuff like that. So it's about, for the bridges and stuff like that, it's about a 7-hour trip. We make it down. We pass the MarineMaxes. As we're passing MarineMax Venice there by the ditch, they're all outside waving, and we had our own little boat parade with all these Aquilas lined up behind us, 44s, 48 and 36s, and it was awesome. And then by the time we got to Boca Grande, it was like that weather like you were talking about, Brock, where you can see your reflection in the water, and everything is perfect. And we actually ended up picking up a few boats on the way down. So we met up in St. Pete. There's a boat in Sarasota, and they kind of just joined in on the progression. We make it down towards Venice. We pick up another boat. Next thing you know, we've got about a dozen boats, and we head into South Seas, and it was just awesome. I mean, I love pulling in the South Seas Resort down there. I'm not a paid South Seas spokesperson, but there's just something to be said. You pull into there, and it's like never ever land for me. It's awesome. It's beautiful marina facilities, and all the owners just kind of got to know each other. A lot of first time owners there and stuff with some people that have gone before, and we just had a great time. The next day, we actually did a raft up there, which I'm sure you've seen the pictures one way or another, and everybody was rafted up, and we were all just playing with the tenders and stuff like that, and everybody just had a great time. And then that night we went back and we had our little party, and everybody did your own thing too. And that's a neat thing about a lot of these getaways is, some people kind of branch off and do whatever. And I actually ended up getting engaged that night down there to Alex, and it was a good time, and we all really enjoyed ourselves. And then Sunday we hung out by the pool down there all day, and it was just perfect. And I was sad to go back, man. And we took the outside the whole way back, and autopilot the whole way. It was flat calm, and it was a perfect trip. And I know I talk about this Aquila Owners Rendezvous a lot, and there's other great ones too. I know that Boston Whaler has an Owners Rendezvous. I know Galleon has one. I know that Azimuth has an awesome one. Ocean Alexander too, I believe, has one down in Ocean Reef. And there's all these different getaways and owners trips that you can get together with everybody, whether it's a specific brand, and there's a lot of friendships that get made out of those little trips.
Yep.
You guys have a Galleon trip over there, Brock?
So the Galleon specific trip, Carla Milan actually puts that on. But I did the first one, the first annual Galleon Rendezvous down at the Galleon Marina in Key West. I led quite a few boats over from the East Coast down to that trip, and that's probably number 2 of my favorite trips so far. That one was absolutely fantastic. Carla put on an amazing getaways.
We had Carla on, didn't we, Keith?
Yep. She's been on her with us.
She filled us in on a Lobster Bash.
So Rick Brown's got another question. He goes, can you address the need for the FCC generated MMSI number versus the local one?
Good question, Rick.
So,
I'm not super familiar with that.
Yeah, I don't know.
So I believe if you go to the Bahamas, if you go out of the United States, you've got to register your I believe this. You've got to get your MMSI number through the FCC as opposed to getting it like from Boat US or CETO. I don't know why that is, but you'll if you just like search get an MMSI number, it'll break it down there in there for you. If you plan on getting out of the USA waters, there's a different way you have to go about getting it. I mean, I don't know what happens if you just got a regular one and you're over there and you go to use it. If you need to use it, does it not work or what? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure there.
Yeah, I didn't even know the difference. I just know that it beeps at you every time you turn your VHF on if it's not registered.
Yes,
Yeah.
it does.
We call it the grenade over here.
I like that. Brock, got a question for you directly. Hey, Captain Brock, can you tell me the easiest, cheapest way to get my Formula 400 SSC to Pompano? Haul or try to drive, or is there a source for lease or rent? So we're talking to Pompano. I guess it depends where you're coming from, huh?
So
He's up in
couple
Destin.
statements down is in Destin, and then he says he wants to see if there's a boat for lease to go over to Bimini. I would probably suggest running down to Fort Myers and then through the locks once they're open back up. Boats for lease over here, you can always get the charter boats through MarineMax. There's not too many that I know that would just let someone just take their boat over to the Bahamas for a weekend without a captain or without somebody aboard. So yeah, I would suggest running the boat on its own bottom. It'd be a fun trip to do anyway.
Oh yeah, I mean you'd be seeing the whole west coast of Florida basically through the locks, then over to the other side.
I would say 3 fuel stops along the way. Could you make it from Destin to Fort Myers in one?
No.
That's too far.
I'd fuel up from Destin to Clearwater, right?
Tarpon Springs or Clearwater.
Tarpon Springs, and then from there I'd fuel up again in Fort Myers.
And then go across.
Yeah.
Could you make it from Clearwater to Clewiston at that first lock there?
In that boat, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you can make it from Clewiston to here, most likely, on one. So yeah, 3 or 4 fuel stops.
Yeah.
Here we go. Got a good question from Miles here. Can I rent an Aquila for a weekend on the East Coast for a test run before our BVI trip?
If there is one, it's not. I'm not familiar with it. If there is one over here, I think that's a BVI's type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't be through MarineMax.
Yeah.
All right. Go back up here. Answer another couple questions. Saw a good one from Matt Lynch there earlier. Where is it? I always default the anchoring questions to Keith because
I didn't see it.
Yeah,
let's see. Matt Lynch.
5 to 10.
Quick tips on setting an anchor with a windlass in 5 to 10 feet of water. Well, I mean, we talked about the general ratios there last week. I guess a good tip I have is always have a lot of chain. I mean, not to say you need a full chain, but I mean, I see guys that will have these big boats and on their anchor rod, they've got like 3 feet of chain, and that's going to hurt you. Obviously, the more chain you have, the better your anchor is going to set, because when you're pulling on it, it's going to be pulling more parallel rather than up, and it's going to get those flukes digging in. So, what do you think there, Keith, for, some quick tips on anchoring with your windlass in 5 to 10 feet of water? Assuming there's a sandbar behind you.
So if he's got a windlass, I'm assuming he's going to have, 25, 30 feet of chain at least on there or whatever. So, I mean, rule of thumb, if it's a nice day, you're going to have, 5 feet anchor rode out for every foot of water you're in. So he's going to have every bit of that chain out and, probably another 10, 15, 20 feet of, the actual rope, the road coming out of there. But you just make sure you set it. So you drop it down. Then as you're backing up to the beach or wherever even if you're just anchored out in 10 foot of water, put that boat into reverse and wedge that plow down into the ground to hold you rather than just letting it just slide or scoot across the surface.
Cool. Hope you're still watching, Matt. Sorry it took us so long. We got a lot of good questions today. I feel like we got one more here before we sign off. Stuart, are there any popular forums where you can find fun places to cruise to? I try to search that. Where'd we go? I try to search that up and 10 forums pop up, and I was wondering if there is a larger forum for this, if that is active. What's a good social community? I know there's plenty on Facebook, just of different owners and stuff. But
I get that question a lot from customers. Is there just an app or something they can go, like restaurants and marinas and stuff like that? I don't know. I personally don't know of one.
Yeah, I don't either. I like the brand specific owners
yeah,
pages on Facebook, and then
Right.
yeah, that's typically where most people default to.
got one more question here. I have a new SDX 290 delivering in February. Is this safe to Key West from Marco, and are there stops along the way for fuel? Well, that's Florida Bay. There's not going to be any fuel stops there. It's pretty much a straight shot. I don't know, guys. What do you think? You're just going to need to pick your weather pretty wisely, or what?
290
Yeah.
SDX, I do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Yep, I would do it, no problem, every day. As long as it's
Exactly.
not 3 foot out there, you'd be just fine.
Yeah.
Yep. Keep an eye on the weather. Go on a good day. You're over there in 3 hours?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just follow the ferry boat, you'll be fine.
What deliveries you have coming up this week, Brock?
This week is a pretty slow week for us. We don't have no yacht deliveries this week, and I don't see anything on the board for me to be doing. I think the salesmen are always delivering something. There's
Yeah.
nothing on the board for me this specific week. I do have some customer trainings that I'm going to be doing this week. I've got Thursday, I'll be going out training one of our customers on a 29 SDX with 250s and a joystick.
Nice.
Friday, I'm going to be training one of our brand new customers on a Galleon 430 HTC, which is just the straight shafts and a bow thruster. And he's a brand new boater, so he's picking it up pretty quick. So we'll get him orientated and captain sign off for his insurance in no time.
One thing I love is when people will come to me and they'll be like, "Hey, I'm just warning you, no experience." I mean, I love hearing that. You know what I mean? Because it's like no bad habits right off the bat, and you're going to learn everything the right way.
Yep, that took the words right out of my mouth. The no bad habits thing.
Yep.
Keith, what are you delivering this week?
Looks like I got three 270 Sundecks, a couple SPXs. I got a 510 Dancer or 51 Dancer going Friday. Another 270. A lot of 270s right now.
Yeah, they are.
But,
those 270s and 290s are
and
they seem to be the hardest boats to get a hold of right now.
And a 320 Dancer outboard. So we've done a lot of those here lately too.
Yeah. Hey man, I have a little bit of a public apology to make. I know you might have forgotten about it, but the other week I was running at Aquila on a sea trial up along Pasadena Yacht and Country Club. It took me a little while to come off that no wake zone. I was trying to get a good top speed, and I looked over and I saw you delivering that 420 outrage, and you were putting it on a lift, and I told Gabriel, I said, Keith's gonna let me hear it about that one.
Nah, man, it was all good.
That seasonal no wake zone actually opens up here November 1st.
Yes. Yeah.
Because of the manatees.
So you
sorry
guys
about
are
that.
slow in the summer and fast in the winter on that coast?
Yeah, it's certain areas because the manatees will leave. Supposedly, the water's going to get cold enough. The manatees will get out of the bay and the intercoastal and go to the warm water runoffs and power plants. But last year, it never got that cold. I mean, they were all over the place.
Yeah, they come over to our coast. It's slow for us in the wintertime. We're allowed to open it up in the summer, but we're 10 days off from no wake zones throughout all of South Florida.
Wow. I didn't know that.
It's a good point there. Read the fine print on those signs, because right now it's slow, minimum wake speed, but then you look in the fine print underneath, it says except and marked ICW.
Yeah.
You can burn a lot of time putzing along and you go for miles. Then finally, all of a sudden boats start flying by you and you go, uh-oh, I missed something somewhere, So read those signs good.
Got one more question here, Rick. Good MarineMax customer there. Which marine weather apps do you feel are the most accurate? I'm a Windfinder guy.
You like the Windfinder?
Yeah, I'm a Windfinder guy.
Let me find the actual name of it. I use Marine Forecast or Windy.
I have Windy also. I just don't use it as much, but I know a lot of guys that trust it with their lives.
Yep. I think it's fantastic. And yeah, marine forecast is probably my number one that I go with.
What do you like, Keith?
Those that you mentioned, and then there's also, it's an app and or just a website called Ventusky. Ventusky. It's, you got all different options of chart layers you want to overlay, whether it's wind, waves, temperatures, precipitation, and all that. But it's pretty darn accurate.
Cool. All good questions. A lot of great questions today from both Facebook and YouTube. As I've mentioned before, if you missed us live, I know a lot of people are working here at this time, and you're watching it after the fact. Don't be afraid to drop those questions in the comments, because Keith and I will actually go on and read these comments after the fact. So we'll read them before we get on next time. So that's if there's anything we missed or anything we didn't get to, hey, let us know, and we'll have some fun. So next week we actually have one of our favorite episodes, and that's Ask Us About Anything. So you guys can hop on, say, hey, Captain Nick, why is your nose so big? You can say anything. I mean, anything's on the table. You can try to stump us, whatever it is, and just let us know what you think. Let us know if there's something that's been bothering you. If we don't know how to handle it, chances are. So that's where we'll be. Captain Brock, you got anything to add?
Hey, calm seas and following winds to everybody.
That's
Amen.
The truth.
There you go.
Well, we appreciate you joining us, man. I know you're a busy guy over there.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
Hopefully we'll have
Tell
you on
Anthony
again.
I said hey.
I absolutely will.
Tell Anthony
All right,
to
man.
stop slacking and starting to join these things again.
He usually is on these things.
He is.
Yeah. He left you hanging out to dry.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, that's all right.
That's right.
That's
All right. All right, Keith, you want to sign us off?
All right, man. Thanks everybody for joining us. Follow us on Facebook at MarineMax Leisure, Instagram and YouTube at MarineMax Online, and Twitter at MarineMax. So that's a wrap. See you guys out on the water.
Bye, guys.